Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn even more money. All in one place, and it's for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup looks like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we feel like having options like video podcasts, Q&A, and polls has let us be creative on a whole other level. I highly recommend you give it a try. So download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Welcome back, X's and T podcast fans. Hey, it's Danny here. You guys, I am so excited to be back with you guys. Have to thank every single person for your support, for sharing the podcast, for wanting to come on, and for everyone who wants to come on a second time. So I just want to say you guys were back at it again with another Amway episode. Because you know what? We have no shortage of Amway stories here, you guys. And you guys are going to love this one. So, quick disclaimer as always, my guest, we are not here to defame anybody. We're not here to defame any of the lines of affiliation or Amway themselves. If you want to join this organization and you're a grown-ass adult, you do you. I would highly encourage you to listen to a lot of these stories. Hopefully it'll change your mind, but that's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. A lot of the upline, if we discuss anybody, their names have been changed, or we will refer to them as whatever their title was, whatever fucking stupid gem they were. But don't sue me. Like, whatever it is that I need to say, everything's alleged based on personal opinion. Like, don't fucking sue me. Okay. All right. So ready and excited to bring back with you guys. I have Taylor. He was a part of URA Association, and he's back at it with us again. Thank you so much for coming back, Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me back.
I'm excited. I really enjoy talking to you. I think you have a lot of high energy and you have a lot of good shit to say. But last time we talked about your experience in is it UR association, or like your association, URA?
Yes, it's URA, but it's your association.
That's so lame.
Which is why I went by the name URA Sucker on my my blog handle was URA Sucker.
That's right. That's right. And we'll definitely get that linked in the podcast show notes. But the Financial Jonestown, if you guys are not familiar again, Taylor started a blog way back in the day about his time in URA. And last time, we were just talking about this before we started recording, is last time we spoke, something that you had said just totally sparked a memory for me. And that was that your upline made some sort of negative comment about playing softball on the weekends. And softball is your hobby, right?
Correct.
So
more than a hobby, it's a passion, I'd say. But yes, technically it's a hobby.
Oh, absolutely. I love softball. Softball was the sport of my choice. So when I remember and recall my time in Amway, a lot of the things that they talked shit about were hobbies. And I think the things that you have mentioned about all of the hobbies that you have, I think you have a fantastic perspective to tell us what it was like to hear from stage them talking shit about the things you're passionate about.
Yeah, I remember he wasn't my direct upline. He was one of the Emeralds that spoke. He was a rising rock star too. And it's like the whole weekend, and you can go back and read my initial blog, Come to My Seminar, was the very first blog I ever wrote about just what a total Charlie Foxtrot that whole thing was. So I'm already irritated. I mean, I'm sleeping in a hotel with 5 other grown ass men, which is illegal, which is kind of funny to me, and we got 2 guys in a bed, 1 guy on a floor, you're not getting very good sleep. You're up late night, the sleep deprivation. And I remember just thinking that so far I had listened to a whole lot of nothing. This was my first conference since I joined. I'd been to a conference the year before and really liked it. But now that I was in and trying to build a business, I realized that these upline diamonds were talking about a whole lot of nothing. So I was already irritated. So he gets up on the stage and I remember looking at my notes from that conference, and there was a big bullet point that said, immerse your life in this business. And I don't immerse my life in any one particular thing, other than maybe my faith. Obviously I don't necessarily talk like a man of faith all the time, don't act like a man of faith all the time, but I'm very strong in my faith. But that would be the only thing that I would ever, if somebody told me to immerse my life in one thing, that would be it. And they often, another couple of talks about football games, why you shouldn't go to football games, and why you shouldn't go to another upline at another event that I went to was talking about concerts and why you shouldn't go to concerts. So already I'm kind of like rubbed the wrong way. But then when he made a sarcastic comment, he's like, yeah, I guess we'll just start our business when softball season's over. And that was like, that struck a chord with me big time. And I thought about it, and it's like, I never thought about giving up softball ever, 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 ever. Not, softball, coaching, music, Call of Duty, things that I love to do, lifting weights. I've never thought of ever giving up anything. But I thought about it. It's like, sometimes I formulate an argument about how I defend something if that topic ever came up. And I thought about it this way. Okay, I spend money on softball gear. I have a really nice roller bag and, a few bats in it. But it's like, when I buy this bat, I pay the money for the bat, and the bat is going to hit the softball. I pay the money to buy the bat because the bat is designed to hit the softball. The materials they make, it's meant to hit it very hard, very far. And I know that when I put my practice in to softball, I take a lot of team practice, a lot of live BP. There's no guarantee that I'll go out and hit lights out. In these last couple of seasons, it's kind of proof of that. I haven't really hit to the standard I'd want to, but nevertheless, I've still had some good swings. And, I don't always hit a home run. I don't always get a base hit in that hole that the defense can create, but with enough practice, I will. I know that. I know that if I practice hitting home runs, or I practice hitting base hits or hitting gaps, that I will do them at an efficient pace. So I'm getting a fair exchange from the time I put in a softball. I know that when I first started playing Call of Duty, I was awful. I would run teams and I'd be the first one eliminated. I was terrible. I hated it. But I practiced more and more and more. And now I can actually hold my own a lot better than I used to because I practiced. I did repetition. When it comes to weightlifting, I may be only able to curl a 50-pound dumbbell, but with work and right form and everything, I will move up to 50, 60 to 60, 70, 80-pound dumbbells, whatever. If you do the diet right, you'll get more fit. When you put these efforts and all these hours into what you're doing, results will show from it. What can Amway say about that? Can they say the same thing? No, they cannot. And that's what kind of like I realize is like, these guys are full of crap. It's all about mind control. Get us to the next conference. Give us your money. Give us your money. Give us your money. Keep them playing. Keep them playing. Keep telling him that if you don't go to this conference, you'll be 6 months behind. Yeah, financially. You're gonna be set back financially. But who cares? Give us your money and we'll keep telling you what you want to hear so that you'll grow your business. It's game time, but that's the whole problem. It's like when softball on game day, I can say it's game time because I'm gonna play the game. But when you're an Amway, you never get to play the game. You're always doing preparations and weekly business briefings, which is just the term makes me want to punch a kitten, which my cat is actually sitting at the edge of the bed. I probably shouldn't say that. I love you, Stella. But it's there's nothing that you gain from all those hours and all those tapes and all those planned showings. You might recruit a sucker or anything, but like I was under the stupid impression that people were making money, and they weren't after all that diligent effort. And so it was like, I can get to that later because I remember talking about how Mr. Prince, who I labeled in my blog, was talking about how you should only buy your own products. And he said, you never see Tiger Woods wearing Adidas, but Tiger Woods gets paid to endorse Nike. Nike pays him to wear the products and he gets all of his stuff for free. It's a little bit different, They use a lot of, BS pretenses under what they say. Sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I think you bring up fantastic points. It's you put in the effort, you play the game, you have the results. And with Amway, I think you have a fantastic point. Like it's all just practice. They always say, "Oh, well, you keep practicing and you'll get better." And they use the analogy of the 10,000 hours of practice, which for the record, I didn't hear that from Amway first. I heard that from Rocky Balboa first. Well, actually, it was
Yep.
Mickey, if we're going to be real.
Mickey. Yep.
RIP.
Rocky 3.
But, it's that same concept of practice, 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 and then you do the thing and you get the result. But with Amway, what the fuck is the thing? And I'm telling you, there really is fucking nothing to it. You quite literally have to go and talk to somebody, and sometimes it's just the fucking luck of the draw. They don't want to say that luck has anything to do with it, but it totally does. Like, sure, it takes something to be a good salesperson. I was fantastic in sales. I would never go back to sales, but I did fantastic in my job when I did sales. I was fucking terrible at quote showing the plan and dropping the message because I did not well, I would say deep down I knew what I was doing was manipulative. I did not actually believe in it. And if I can't do it, why the fuck am I going to go tell Joe Schmo in the canned beans aisle that he needs to do it? You know?
Mhm.
So when I think about the concept of practice, 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 there is no fucking results in Amway. I think it's rigged. If I'm being like 100, I have no idea how
100%.
I can't.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but when you're talking about these hobbies, a lot of it too is mental fucking health. I think you made a fantastic point when we were talking earlier about burnout. I mean, that is something that I hear so many times over again from every person that I talk to. It's that when they got out of the business, they were burnt the fuck out because you're talking about day and night, 24/7. All they think about is Amway. People are giving up their mattresses to sleep on the floor until they get whatever pin level, or there's no PV and TV. They get rid of their TV. They're quite literally from the moment they wake up till the time they go to bed, which is usually not till really fucking late. It's constantly nothing but Amway.
Mhm.
I think you had said it really well that will quite literally kill a person.
So it was funny how you mentioned how the game is rigged. One, how the game is rigged. The couple that I wrote about in my fantasy football piece, and I named them Jackson Terra, which it was kind of funny. Which, by the way, fantasy football. On a side note, the person who got me into the business, not Matthew, who was my blind sponsor, but the guy who got me into the business, and he actually got out before I officially became started. We're actually in the same fantasy football league now. I was thinking about that today. But
That's awesome.
Jackson and Tara were a young couple, young married couple. They were already Emerald. So when I got to conference, they were the first ones to speak, and I was actually very excited to hear them speak because I wanted to know how they do it. How did they just come in there and just start kicking ass and taking names? And then they said who their sponsors were: Mr. and Mrs. Prince, the upline crowns. I'm like, and my face just dropped. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So it's like you kind of wonder if they're just picking and choosing who they want to be. But they had a saying in the business that was really popular, and Mr. Prince used this over and over in his speeches again: earn your pillow. I guess they had run showed a plan late at night or something, and he had gotten home at like 3 or 4 in the morning and went to sleep, and he was laying on his pillow and said, "Man, I've earned this pillow." And it's kind of like I understand that. I mean, they provide a lot of great motivational quotes. It's like earn your pillow, earn your break. You go hard in the gym, earn that rest day, earn that cheat meal. Whatever that stuff like that makes sense. But it was like I was telling you. I love softball, but after I play a softball tournament all day, believe me, I'm excited to be home. I'm glad when wherever we play, however it works out, it's good. I'll be back for the next tournament, but I love getting home or, and go and get something to eat and just chilling. I love it. When I put in a good workout at the gym, I am so looking forward to coming home and crushing some food and just relaxing and playing Call of Duty. And the point I'm trying to make is that I cannot do anything, no matter how much I love it. I can never immerse my life in it and just do it 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I would just you would grow to hate it. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't lay in bed all day. Laying in bed all day or being dormant, like when I hurt my back and I couldn't go to the gym or do anything, man. I was miserable. So for them to just act like, oh, you should live and breathe this business, and it's like, why? It's not putting any money in my pocket. At least at the gym I get some muscles, with
Yeah.
softball I get some fun and competitive energy out and get some bad energy out and things like that. But I mean, and people were just latching on every word of that. And I mean, because the bottom line is they thought they were going to make money,
Yeah.
and it's like earn your pillow so we could suffocate you with it.
Pretty much. God. And they would say too, me and my friend Jessica, we were just talking about this. Jessica was my upline. Well, she married the guy who was my upline. And I try to say this in every episode, but like fuck you, Robert. Like actually, like I fucking hate you. But
Fuck you,
Jessica and I were
Robert.
talking. Yeah, no, well, so the reason why I say this, and I'm gonna say it in every fucking episode, at least I'll try, is the fact that Robert was an abusive piece of shit to his wife, and my whole upline co-signed that shit. They told her to be quiet, don't say anything, just keep building your business. We'll sew into him. It got physically abusive by the end of it. She was very open about her story. If you guys haven't heard Jess's story,
Hey,
please
Robert,
do.
you suck. I'll punch you
Yeah,
in the
oh yeah.
face, Robert.
But I'm just, I'm like thinking back, and I'm just thinking about all of the things that was told. And it was nobody ever died from sleep deprivation. That was one thing that they commonly said to us. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not fucking true. The amount of people, I'm so sad to fucking say this. One of them, she came on anonymously to share her episode, but another guy that I spoke with that was also part of the business, both of these people got into car accidents because of sleep deprivation, and they were praised for it. They were praised. Oh, this person was out showing the plan and got into a car accident, and then they would end up still having to go to a board plan after the fact, whether it's the next day, the day of. It's just unbelievable the amount of
Wow.
sleep deprivation and how dangerous that actually is.
My thing is when I'm sleep deprived, like I remember the first time I went, I was raging. I was laying in that bed raging. It's like I had sleep apnea real bad and I was snoring really loud. And one of my a-hole roommates kept hitting me with a pillow, waking me up because I was snoring too loud. And I'm telling you, I was bubbling. I mean, just raging in that bed. And it just like I ended up getting him later in the room. He punched me in the face. Like I'm like, are you fucking it's freaking serious? You know, and because that's the thing, sleep deprivation gets people hostile. It gets them chipping at each other. I mean, and the second time I got more sleep, but I was still pissed off. I mean, it's like, bro, I am a grown ass man. I mean, Danielle, I'm 6'9", 280. I'm 300 plus at this time. You know, sleeping sharing a bed with another grown ass man. Like it was just. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so, like, no one ever died of sleep deprivation. Yeah, ask if somebody's gotten killed because the other guy was sleep deprived.
Exactly. Exactly. I talk a lot about the guilt that I feel because I have the sleep deprivation that I had and driving and having a child. And I do feel a lot of guilt for that. But when it comes to the things that they're telling us, right? Like you need to lose sleep, you need to immerse yourself in this business. This business needs to literally be your entire life. Eat, sleep, oh, barely sleep and breathe Amway. I mean, even straight down to limiting people's food. There's this one girl that came
Mm-hmm.
on anonymously too, Hannah. She talked about the fact that they limited her food budget to like, I think $50 a month. And the rest was supposed to be Amway products. Now, I don't know about a lot of other people out there, and we have a home of 4 people. We try our best to eat as healthy as possible where it's possible. And it is not necessarily the most expensive, but it's not exactly the cheapest option when it comes to eating healthy. When you're talking
Absolutely not.
about including fruits, vegetables, and meat, if you're a meat eater, I am
Yep.
sorry, vegans, not sorry. But
Mhm.
all of those different things cost money, especially if you want to get good quality. I mean, hey, if you're balling on a budget and you're buying some cheap stuff, I'm not here to judge you. That being said, though, this poor girl had $50 a month to buy groceries.
Danielle, my monthly grocery bill is about $300 a month for me.
Damn.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to get, 285 grams of 250, 275 grams of protein a day. That's a lot of chicken,
Yeah, oh yeah.
a lot of whey protein after the gym. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough, but you want to have a better looking body. You got to do what it takes. But that's the whole thing. I'll spend my money to buy quality groceries and good food. And yes, that does cost money, but when I spend that kind of money on food, it's expensive, yes, but I know that if I stick to this diet, I'm going to get a much healthier and much more fitter physique because of it. And the same cannot be said with Amway. You're spending all this money because they're saying that it's going to get you rich or you're going to be financially free. And that's the thing. And that's what's funny because you talk about immerse your life in this business. It's the bait and switch. They start out telling you this is just something to make some extra money. And I was like, I
Yeah.
could use an extra $500-600 a month. That's kind of what I was going for. But then it was like, go diamond or you're a loser.
But you're right. It is very bait and switch. When I sat down with my now ex upline, I'm thinking about the like you said, it was, what if you could make an extra like $500-$600 a month part-time in addition to
Mhm.
your job? Part-time, okay? Part-time to me is maybe 15 hours a week. This podcast for me is part-time. I spend 15 hours a week roughly doing like editing, interviews, talking to people, recording, like with all of that, it's part-time. I don't make money with this if I'm being like 100, but I do it because I enjoy it. This is something that I love, but Lord knows I cannot fucking immerse my life in it. There are points in time where I need a fucking break. And let me tell you, it is very challenging to take breaks because I feel guilty. I feel like if I'm not recording something or editing something or doing social media, I am failing, which is the worst mindset to have in the world, because that I don't want to hate this, but you get burnout no matter how much you love doing something, you get burnt the fuck out. And actually kind of going back to what you're talking about with baseball, and you go in, you get the practice, and you have the result after you play the game. I'm thinking about like when my child started baseball. My kid started out at 0. He had never played before and he was going in to play essentially like little league minors. Okay. These are kids
Oh
who've usually
wow,
been playing. Yeah. These are
started
kids who've been
late.
playing since they were 5, 6 years old. I was the T ball kid. I started from T ball, went up to majors. I got an injury and I had to stop playing, but I did go on to play rugby. Shout out. But
Nice.
the the point is, though, is that my kid started from 0, and everyone with Amway starts at 0, right? My kid, he was dedicated, and he has very supportive parents and grandparents who would take him to the cages. We took him to the cages every single Sunday. We went to the cages, and my dad got him a hit away. These things are fucking fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
I used to have a hit away.
aren't those dope? So
They are great.
we bent one of his bats because of how much he was practicing. But anyway, so from starting at 0 over the course of, I think the season was in total 3 months long. By the very last game, my son was able to catch the ball, he was able to throw the ball and make it to the other person, and he hit the ball on his last game. That was amazing. That was his goal. He reached what he wanted to do after 3 months. Now, let's talk about Amway. Amway, I put in more time, and most people put in more time into practicing for the first 3 months in Amway than someone would going to the batting cages every Sunday, plus having 2 practices a week and practicing with their parents. Okay. By the end of my 3rd month in Amway, I had nothing to show for it other than I lost. In my first 3 months, what is that? Like $1,500 plus some, because you're talking about function tickets, you're talking about
Yep.
ditto, you're talking about the materials, everything that you needed to buy. So let's say $2,000 is what I lost in my first 3 months, which is more of a waste of fucking time.
Mhm.
Amway or baseball.
Yep. I mean, hell, I won my first ever solo battle royal in Call of Duty like a month or 2 months in after I first started. You know, I mean, that's I mean, you can make progress anywhere. You do it enough, but that's the thing about Amway. You there's people who, I mean, and Matthew was in for probably a year or two before I got in, and was probably there for another year or two after I left, and he obviously didn't stay because he ended up having a kid. And the question probably to him was, do I do my ditto or does my kid eat?
Yeah.
And he kind of realized that it wasn't working for him, and he left. We
Too.
never really talked about it. We've talked one time since I left the business, and I just reached out to him and asked him how he was doing, but he didn't address the elephant in the room, and so I just let it be. But he's not even from the area. He's in Colorado now, and I think he's doing pretty well for himself. And he was a good guy, man. He was just trying to do the best for his family, and the road to hell's paved with good intentions, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's like one thing that I always try to talk about, especially if you were not in the business and you're listening to this. Nobody gets in with ill intentions. I don't feel like, I don't know, unless you're like the guy who started all of these fucking organizations, one of those, I feel like those people had bad intentions from day one.
Mhm.
But everyday folks like us who are getting in, it's because somebody came to us and said, "Hey, I have an opportunity that you can do part time on the side of your job, make an extra $500-$600 a month. It's actually pretty easy. People do it all the time. Great, dope." I sit in a seminar and I see a guy talking some shit that I really understand. Oh, he's saying words that I like to hear. It's motivational. It's inspirational. I love it. But The thing is we do eventually like wake up. We do eventually see this is some bullshit. You can be like Taylor and be out in a very short period of time, which is awesome. And while you were in the business, Taylor, and you have these hobbies on the side, and I know you said like there was never an inkling for you that you were ever going to give them up. Was there ever any that you like any time that you gave up for these hobbies for Amway, like maybe a function or a meeting?
I want to say I skipped out on a rec tournament on a local just paper roster tournament to go to a thing. That's the thing. I kind of just waited out. You know, it's like I don't really need to go to this tournament. Nothing was going to come of it. Now had it been a tournament where because that same year I played in a conference tournament. The conference is the most elite circuit in the nation. And I had a chance to. I got picked up by this conference team for a week for just a weekend tournament. I mean, I was just an extra body. We weren't very good. It was we went 0-2, but the chance like a chance to play in a major tournament, no, there nothing. Jesus Christ would have came back and I'd be like, hold up, let me come back, come and get me Monday. You know, nothing would have ever stopped me. I mean, Matthew could have chewed me out, and I would have told him to stick it where the sun don't shine. Because I mean, those were the tournaments. I was trying to get on that elite circuit for years, and you know, the chance to play in those tournaments, I never would pass that up. But you know, there was the sacrifices that I made were minor. If I ever had to miss anything, I didn't miss anything too important. I don't think. I mean, in retrospect, would I have done it? I don't know. I mean, I was motivated, but I was also pretty grounded. And I remembered, you know, Matthew, one time we were trying to schedule a time to do something, and I told him I had a softball tournament that weekend. And he kind of looked at my buddy who I had just gotten into the business, and he's like, do you play softball at all? Real sarcastic. And I'm like, bro, like softball was here
Oh,
before you. It'll be here long after you're gone, man. So
right.
don't make me shoot.
Exactly. But they say this business is for everybody. Everybody can do this business. It's possible. All you have to do is fucking talk to people. So how the fuck is skipping out on these events where you're fucking social at, where a majority of, I mean, maybe not a large majority for you, but a majority of maybe people who invest their time in a hobby, that's where they're gonna fucking find people for your cult. So why are you gonna take them away from that?
That's exactly true. Because see, like Amway was pitches a lot of vitamins and things like that, rhodiola and all that. Now, I mean, I'll say rhodiola worked. I used it. It worked. It was good and it was natural. I liked some of Amway's products. I really did. Excess was really good. But the softball tournaments were where that's your target audience because a lot of those guys are into fitness and health and doing those kind of things. I mean, obviously, some softball players aren't very healthy. They love to drink and smoke and drugs. But I mean, a lot of them are into fitness. A lot of guys are in the gym just like me, getting after it. So I mean, that was a target audience. It's like you almost feel like, do I want to go to a conference and hear you blabber on about the same stuff, or am I going to go out there where the action is and try to get people in? That was going to be one of my strategies. Was I had so many contacts in softball parks and where I covered high school sports, I was going to try to wholesale access to them. I couldn't because it wasn't competitive enough. I wasn't going to be able to make it work. But that was one of my strategies, was to use that network that I had to
Right.
get my products out there and get sales going. But if they had made their sales more the compensation for their sales more competitive, people would want to join that, make it work.
Yeah, yeah. $50 for 12 bottles of water is not competitive. Oh my
No.
God.
And
That's a
especially like you have to know your demographics. People are like, you need to get them to buy excess. And it's like people buy their monsters on their way to work at the gas station, which is another thing I was going to try to. I even had pitched the idea of getting excess in the gas stations, of getting them to buy my wholesale from the gas stations. But yeah, we probably don't want to do that because you'll be interfering with other people's businesses too, like other Amway distributors' business too. And it's like nobody's going to buy 12 packs of excess and have it. They're going to buy their energy drink on the way to work. Maybe more thrifty, but they're not. You have to understand marketing trends and
Yep. Yeah.
you know.
Wow. So it's funny that you say that. I remember going to the coast. This was when I was in Amway. I went to, you guys are from Oregon, shout out, Seaside. There is a small little store there where they sell like coffee and energy drinks. They had a like powdered canister of some sort of Amway product. And I was like, what? And so I got it because I was curious. And I went back and I told my upline about it. They're like, oh, that is horrible. You should have reported them. Like, they're not supposed to be doing that. Just going off about it. Now, I don't know what Amway's terms and conditions are. I'm not going to say do or don't do that. But what I am going to say is that they don't want people actually selling this stuff. It feels like allegedly. Like they want you getting people. They don't care about the sales because if they did, Amway would crack down on all of these alleged customers because let's be real, people. So Amway has now implemented this 70% verified customer volume. So what they have to do is they can no longer go in and create a customer. They have to have a customer account with a verified phone number and a different email address. What do you think their upline's telling them to do? Oh, create it under your mom's name, put their email address on there, have it shipped to their house, but you're still buying it. You're the one who's still fronting the money for all of these different products. Despite the fact that you're spending a lot of money on softball and your different hobbies, have you ever once spent as much in 1 month for this hobby as you had in Amway?
In 1 month. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
if you count buying the bat or the roller bag, possibly yes, but they were at different times. Like I would have if you think about it in a yearly rate, would I have spent as much in a year in softball gear as I would have Amway? No, no.
right.
I had, I mean, at one point when I was in college, I probably had, with the bag and 3 bats, I had about 3 grand total with everything like softballs, all the year. But that was purchased all over amounts of time. It was never really at one point. I would say probably I have close to that now, but that was purchased over a period of years.
Right.
It was never like I never would have dropped the money on softball gear that I would have dropped in Amway over a year. No way. With the hotel stays, the travels, the conference tickets, all the gas to go show the play in the weekly business. No way. Even if I wanted to, and I mean, I was like I said, I mean, I always said if I could afford it, I'd be a total bat whore. I would just buy every single bat that came across my eye. But I mean, no, no, I wouldn't have. And that's what's crazy because I mean, softball bats are $300 a pop.
Yeah,
So
they're not cheap. But
mm-mm.
like you said, but it is an investment that lasts a long period of time. I'm spending $600 in 1 month on Ditto that does not last a long period of time. Maybe some of the skincare does, which I don't fucking like it. Sorry, Amway. I don't love your makeup. Like, I'm not a fan of your products. But when you're buying a $300 bat in an ideal world, that thing's going to last you a while. You're going to be able to maintain it. You're going to be able to use it for years to come.
But
You're
actually, I
spend
confess to you, Danny, if I actually, with the amount of cuts I get on a bat, I can put well over 1,000 cuts on a bat between batting practice and all that. So I mean, they busted a year, but they do have warranties. They do have warranties, so I do bust it. I can get a brand new one if I bust it within a year. So
but that's still $300 for one
right,
year. This is
yeah,
$7,200 for a
mm-hmm.
Ditto a month.
That's
That's what I was
nuts.
spending
That's
at six hundred
nuts.
dollars a month. Yeah, that's for 1 year. That doesn't, like you said, count hotel stays, travel,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
conferences, everything else. And for you guys in URA, did you guys have weekly meetings that like cost money at the door?
No. We did have to meet where I lived in Austin, Indiana. We would meet at IUS, which was about 30 minutes away, was where I went to college. And we would meet and try to get on their free Wi-Fi because, none of us had
Right.
Wi-Fi. And, we would all have to, because we were from, anywhere from Louisville, Henryville, we were from all over. So we would all meet there for weekly business briefings, which was really
Oh,
just we
okay.
hold meetings with a speaker, but we would have some kind of a meeting there. And so we would they would cost gas money to go there unless you bummed
Yeah.
a ride with someone. So I remember I
Wow.
told the story about how I blew my knee out running a ground ball out to first base in a softball game, and then instead of going home and nursing my knee up, I went to a weekly business briefing all the way into Albany, and it felt like an ice pick had been stuck in my knee, and I couldn't take it no more, so I had to leave early, and then my upline called me out on it. Matthew called me out on that
That's
later.
right. That's right. You did tell us
Mm-hmm.
about that before, which that fucking shows dedication, though. I mean, truly. Like, it's not like people like you, like me, like everybody that I've spoken to. We didn't go into this to bullshit. We didn't go in there and not do and do nothing. Like a lot of people who join Amway, they hit the ground running and they run as hard as they can for as long as they feel that they can. Now, whether that's 2 months, whether that's 3 months, 5, 10 years, you're still putting in a lot of fucking effort. It's really interesting that these leaders seem to think that these hobbies take away from your time in Amway. When kind of like we talked about before, in all reality, that's where you're going to be around the most fucking people. I mean,
Yeah.
even video games. My significant other, he plays with like 6 different people online. Now, he's one
Mhm.
of those like, I don't go into gaming lobbies people, but nevertheless, he's still being social. Who can't hey, so I met this guy. I mean, we're sitting here playing a video game, whatever, right? Hey, I met this guy. I think you might want to meet him. He's pretty cool. He helped me make a little bit of extra money on the side. Why the fuck can't you do that while playing video games? What is wrong with that? Or what's wrong with doing that in the dugout or next to this fucking person at the sporting event, for God's sakes? Like
Because
all these
that's what
different hobbies.
they want you to go out to the mall and just talk to random people. Dude, like if somebody comes up to me asking me, I'm like, get away from me, man. Like, no, I don't know you.
Right.
But
I want
that's
them.
how Amway recruitment works. That you recruit people you know. I knew Matthew. I knew his buddy that got me into the business. I'd known him for years. They were friends with my brother in high school. And they were good people. They still are good people.
Right.
So you trust them. And I mean, poor Matt, I think he was so motivated and wanted to make it happen. I think he just believed in that dream.
Yeah,
And
totally.
but the thing was, and that was I did another piece about how Coach K would have been really good in this kind of environment. Mike Krzyzewski, they call him Coach K. He retired. He's the basketball coach at Duke for
Wow.
30, 40 years. I mean, he was there forever. He was there all my life. And what was funny was that a lot of the upline, including Mr. Prince and some of the others, were coaches. And the person who recruited Matthew, our upline platinum, he was his coach. And I thought about how, I was coaching freshman basketball at the time, and I had a really good rapport with some of those kids. And it's like I could influence them to do stuff like that. And it seems to me like it's just kind of shitty that you would use your influence and the trust that they have in you to recruit them into that life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he ever apologized. But if I'm not mistaken, I wonder if they're actually still in the business. I don't even know if they are, but it's
Wow.
because they were, and that was what my mom said. I wanted to come back to that earlier. I was really mad at Matthew. I really was. But my mom brought up a very interesting point. She said he was convinced by someone who said you were convinced by someone who knew what they were doing, just like he was convinced by someone who knew what they were doing. And I said, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, hey, your mom sounds way nicer than the way my dad put it. So shout out.
Yeah. My mom's a pretty nice lady. So,
That's awesome. We love
mm,
it. But I mean, it is a good point. And I like what you're talking about with coaches and the influence. And it is kind of scary when you think about it, the influence that some of these people have. I mean, I've heard of teachers getting into this organization as well. And
yeah,
the
that was a bit,
influence
they love teachers.
that they had. It's like I've talked to ex-teachers or people who are still teachers, and it's asking them the question of like how does it like now looking back, what was it like seeing this? And one person she came on anonymously, her and her husband, and she was a music teacher, and she knew the girl Antonia who came on, who was recruited just before her senior year of high school. Like this girl was 17 years old and was in high school while she was in the process and while she got launched into business. And the teacher was talking about the fact that it's really scary because of that influence that other people have. And one thing that you actually said too about people who were coaches, what's really interesting is none of my upline were coaches, and you can fucking tell. I was raised by a coach. So you know the difference, right? And sure, there are some hard ass coaches, and then there are some really great coaches. Like I was telling this to my kid, I'm like, you're gonna have a coach at some period of time where you're either gonna butt heads, but you're gonna respect them. Like you have to respect all of them unless they're making you do something unethical or they're bad people. But none of my upline were coaches. The one guy who was a diamond, he wasn't a coach. He was a player. He was an NFL player. If you guys know, you know, I call him the football guy, him and his wife, and they had like a sick kid or whatever.
I know who you're talking
The
about
way,
because he was mentioned in what was the scratch and claw your way to financial freedom. I think he says I don't know
yeah.
if I can drop his name. Am I allowed to drop his name on the podcast? Or okay, I will not drop his name, but I do know who you're talking about. He was a former pro football player. Yes.
Yes, yeah, that guy. But even the way that he spoke was not like a fucking coach. Okay.
Mhm.
And I wonder if the people who had been above me have actually been coaches in their lives, would they have acted differently? Would people who were actually like coaches to kids be in this business and be able to look people in the fucking eye? I don't believe that. Every coach that I've ever known who was actually like a good, solid fucking human being, I do not believe that they could sit into this organization and be able to continue manipulating other people. As somebody who likes to coach, what is your perspective on that?
Well, I mean, because for me, it's like, it's you use the word manipulate. As a coach, you don't use the word manipulate. You use the word motivate. You motivate your players to play better. You don't have to manipulate. If you have to manipulate your players to play better or do something, man, then you're doing it wrong. I encourage my kids to play. I encourage my players to play physical, play hard, play determined. But there was always a reason for that, because we weren't going to win unless you did. And a lot of people take that sick way and twist it. It's like, if you don't work hard, play hard. And it honestly, it upset me a lot. When I thought about how, when I talked about Coach K could have killed it in cultism, that was what the thing was, is because you have this influence over these kids. And I tell my kids, I would always tell my kids, like, for example, I was in the coffee shop one day. I live in a small town where I coached, and I saw one of my players walking with his girlfriend down the street, and I messaged him. I said, "Walk on the side of the street. Gentleman walks on the side of the street." That's when you want to use your coaching powers for good. Or you give them a good piece of advice. You have a chance to influence somebody to do the right thing. I personally, and of course, I mean, a lot of people know me and know that integrity is a big thing with me. So, but I could never look my kid and deceive them, to do something like this unless I had done it myself. Like I as a former basketball player, and I wasn't a great basketball player by any stretch of the word, but I know that if you work hard and you play hard and you block out and you do these certain things, you will be successful on the court. I know what it takes to win as a coach. So when I tell them to do that, I'm doing that because I know what I'm talking about. I know that if they do this, they will succeed. And we were a very down group, but we were 6-12. Nothing big about that. But with the team that we had, 6 wins was a big thing. For them to get six
Right.
wins was huge. And we competed in a lot of others. We handed out just as many butt whoopings as we took. Those guys really overachieved because they learned, just if you play hard and do the right things, good things are going to happen. May not always work out the way we wanted to, but we can never say that we were just horrible. Our record was not good, but we weren't very good. We did about as
Right.
good as any team with our talent level could have. There was a team that beat us in December by 30 points, turned right around, and then we had a last second shot to beat them and missed.
Oh
So
man.
that when you tell them to do this, the progress will come. And that's the thing about Amway. There are people who follow that plan to a T, and they get nowhere and broke. And people have killed themselves in this business because they really put their heart and soul into something, and people have lost. I remember Zay and Melody talking. Zay had sold these like really expensive pair of Jordans that he loved just to like go to a conference. These people laid it all on the line for you, and you took their money, and then when they left, you had nothing for them.
Yeah.
You Amway upline, diamonds, emeralds, you leaders are pieces of shit. You really are. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's not Christian, but you are. You are pieces of shit because you know what you're doing. You know that you're making most of your money off the gate, off the tickets, off the tools. And these people are hinging, and they're looking at you, admiring you, and you're using the influence and the sway that you have to manipulate them into giving you more money. It is far from me to ever condemn anyone, but I'm really going to think you're going to have a lot to answer for one day when you stand before Almighty God. One of the upline diamonds from the URA just passed away recently, and I just wondered what it was like when he stood in front of God,
Yeah.
with a false gospel. It's like, listen, I'm a sinner just like everyone else, but what they did using the influence they had, man, that's just evil. It's pure
Right.
evil, and for what? Money, just for money.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't take
They're
that with
quite
you when you go, boss.
right. And they're quite literally ripping away your personhood. I mean, the
Mhm.
one thing that some people have is their hobbies for their mental health. This is my mental health. This is what helps me. I don't leave the house very often, but at the same time, I need an outlet. Otherwise, I will probably off myself. Just kidding. I make a lot of suicide jokes. If you're not down for that, I'm so sorry. But
Mhm.
either way, like I need something. And when I was in Amway, I had nothing. Like, I was a mom. I was a single mom at that time. I was paying my rent, I was paying my ditto, and I was paying childcare. All three of those cost the same fucking amount of money, $700 a piece. Okay? That's all to just survive. That doesn't include groceries, that doesn't include um other electric like bills that I had to pay, my phone bill, my car insurance, etc., right? And I had nothing to keep me sane. I was supposed to just keep listening to audios and reading books. And I didn't even have time to consider anything else. That literally killed me. By the time I was done with Amway, I was like ripped to shreds as a human because I was working three fucking jobs. Plus, I was doing apps on the side. At the very least, if you're going to ask people to give up their time with their family events, funerals, oh my God, the least you could do was let them play fucking an hour of video games and stop criticizing them. Because what the fuck else are we supposed to do? We can't just be robots. Nobody can survive as a fucking robot. I refuse to believe that.
And it's, I mean, that's the whole thing about greed. It just drives you, and I believe it takes over you. It's a demon just like anything else. But the fact of the matter is that you allowed it. You allowed your pursuit of greed to take over. Because I sometimes, Mr. Prince has an Instagram, and sometimes I go to it, and I'm like, talking about how, I mean, of course, he hasn't posted in like a year or something like that. It was kind of weird. He hasn't posted. He's been dormant for a while, but they sit on here looking like this happy American family and just inspiring so many people. And it's like, you guys are lying to people. You are con men. And you sell. I mean, it's like, how do your kids look at you with a sense of, respect? Do you tell them the truth too? Do you lie to them? Do they think, oh, mommy and daddy are just really good business people? I mean, it's to me, I just, oh my God, what goes around comes around in this life, man. And I know that because I've suffered my own karma for the bad things I've done. And the difference is I try to grow from it and try to learn from it and plant better seeds along the way. But those people, I'm telling you, man, they're gone.
Yeah, definitely. I when when I think about all of this, I think about, like you said, immerse your life in this business. So if you guys don't remember, you guys haven't listened to it yet, please go listen to it. You guys, I had this girl named Ashley on. Ashley talked about her upline platinum. Her upline platinum gave her entire fucking life to this business for, I believe, a decade. She was, I want to say, platinum going ruby, or she was a ruby. This woman died, and her upline did not show up to her funeral. Her family had to create a GoFundMe because they needed to. So what the fuck was going on behind the scenes to where her family needed to create a GoFundMe account where she was supposed to be making all this money in Amway, right? But not only that, she gave her entire fucking life to her upline. She was on a texting basis with the guy who talks really fast's parents, okay? If you guys aren't familiar with these people, they are like OGs in the business. If y'all who are in worldwide know who the guy who talks really fast is, they're from Vegas, have twin daughters and a son or whatever, right? She was on a texting fucking basis with these people. They didn't show up for her. All they did was say she died doing what she loved, which was this business. And they created a hashtag that said do it for her. That is what they fucking did for her.
Do
That
it for
angry
her,
fan.
i.e., buy more conference tickets to come and do it for her. Wow, using dead people to make money.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. But we're back
What a
to
bunch of
playing
dude
sports.
nuggets, man.
It gets dark, I'm telling you. It sucks. And just kind of to wrap it all up here, the thing is that they criticize us for the things that we do because it takes away from our time in the business. But yet, when we give our life to this business, and like you had said, when we leave, they do not fucking care about us. Or if you die, they don't give a fuck. So why am I supposed to give up my hobby that actually I care about? And a lot of people that I meet are fantastic, amazing people that I love communicating with. And they seem to care about me a little bit too. Why is that giving that up better than or why is giving that up the better option than staying in Amway when these people actually don't fucking care?
They're only as good as your last conference tickets you bought.
Yeah. Trying to think of, I don't even remember what you know what? My last conference was spring leadership 3 days after I gave birth. Well, 6 days after I gave birth because my upline
Wow.
coached me on when to give birth because I had to have a scheduled C-section. And then I had to go watch John Maxwell speak that next weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost part of my soul talking to you. Man, that is just so bad. These people are
Isn't
so
it?
awful.
Oh yeah. See, these
I
I
think I
feel
actually
like
watched it. I think I watched a tape with John Maxwell on YouTube one time. It was about a 25-minute tape, 25-minute long video. And I just combed through the video and I finally commented, imagine being a big shot in this business. The upline diamond, you're balling, you're large and in charge. You spoke 25 minutes and didn't say one thing about how you got there.
yeah, it's interesting. I was mad
God.
when I found out that John Maxwell spoke for other MLMs because John Maxwell's not in Amway. I mean, he might be, but he definitely gets
It
his
may have
money
not
from the
been
lines of
him then.
affiliation.
It may not
He
have
gets
been
the,
him then.
but I mean, either way, you're right though. The diamonds, they supposedly have all this wisdom. Like we go up to them, right? And we flock them as if they're going to breathe wisdom onto us and we record everything that they say, but they don't say shit. They give us word salad. That is what a narcissist does. They give you word salad to convince
That's
you
good.
that what you're hearing is valid. It's not valid. They're gaslighting you into thinking that you're hearing things, but they're repeating the same shit just a different fucking way.
Oh, I remember when Mr. King, who was our Crown founder, gets up there, and I'm like, okay, it's time to learn now. It's time to hear how he did, and he talked about this joke he pulled on a guy where he used jalapenos instead of and told him it was relish, and I'm like, what the freaking frick does this have to do with how you got to become a Crown? Then he talked about there's high tide and low tide. Don't quit during the low tide. Oh wow, Captain Obvious. Then his wife tried to tell a story about Navy SEALs that like fell 30 yards shy of making any sense at all. It's like, what the F? Can you please tell me how you became a diamond so I can apply this to my business? And it's the whole time, it's just you go back over the notes, it's like, and then I remember I the guy next to me when there was one of our recent diamonds, his wife was talking about this raccoon that only ate glazed donuts, that lived in their attic that would only eat glazed donuts. I mean, she was just. I thought she was on. I think she was on drugs. She must have been on like Xanax or something. And if she was off, she was off the meds for sure. And I remember just putting 3 question marks next to my buddy and showing it to him. And he goes, "Well, this is more like wisdom." I'm like, dude, if I want wisdom, I'll talk to my grandfather, man. Tell me how to make some freaking money.
So I actually think it was
Ah,
hidden right there in front of you how he built the business. This guy who convinced his friend that jalapenos were relish. That's called manipulation. That's how he fucking did it. He threw in a sprinkle of truth.
you're sharp. You're good. You're good, Danny. You're good. Yeah, you're good. That's good. I didn't even realize that, man.
He's
Wow.
right there. They sprinkle. I swear to God, narcissists are good at that. They'll sprinkle a little bit of truth into their vast majority of lies. It's wild to me just the things that these people on stage will
Oh,
have us convinced of.
yeah, he was known to be a jokester, practical joker, and you caught that, man. That was really good. I thought he was just up there babbling about nothing, and you're like, dang, sharp as a tack, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so I
You
really
got you've
appreciate
got
your
things down to X's and T. Oh,
hey.
oh, got my dad joke in.
No, it's good. It's good. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Do you have any last words for our listeners? Some actual wisdom?
Um, if you and I said this on the other one, if you're looking into get into this business, sometimes it's like a hot stove. We can tell you not to touch it, but you're just gonna have to burn your finger off before you really learn. But I will say this. I got into that business to try to make money, just like Matthew got into the business to try to make money, just like everybody in our group got in that business to try to make money. All I'm saying is, and go check out I'm shameless plug here. Go check out my blog, The Financial Jonestown, and just read up on it a little bit. And necessarily, when you go to your first conference or when you go into these meetings, just look for what we're talking about. Look for those red flags. And my thing is, don't don't try to deny it. Don't try to rationalize it, man, because there's too many people who've lived it. And I don't want you to end up getting in that trap of manipulation where you're losing money. Invest in your hobbies, because you know what, those hobbies are good for your mental health. And in today's times, man, mental health is everything right now. So God bless you, and forgive me for the language that I used at times, but and all the Amway upline emeralds and diamonds are douche nuggets.
There you
And
go.
what was the guy's name that was physically abusive? Robert or whatever.
Robert, yeah.
Yeah, Robert, you're a punk ass bitch.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you again. I really, really do appreciate it. And you guys, if you guys want to come on here and talk about Amway, or if you guys don't want to talk about Amway, you guys have another cult or MLM you guys want to talk about, or if you guys are a survivor of any sort of trauma that you want to come and discuss, you guys want to be like Taylor here, please email me at dani@xsandtpodcast.com. You're still welcome to DM me on Instagram at xsandt.podcast. You guys can find me on TikTok with that same handle. We're finally getting shit up on YouTube, so go check that out. Go subscribe. I'm slowly getting more and more episodes put up there. We have a lot more now than we did before. But you guys can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere podcasts are heard. So we will catch you guys in the next episode.